fellow book nerds, this is High on Books, and today we are going to talk about The Poppy War by R.F.Kuang. But before we go further into this video, let me tell you that this video is made in collaboration with Parth from the Indian Bibliophile. His review on this book is already out on his channel, so make sure you check that out too. Link to the video is in description. With that being said, let's get started with the review. The Poppy War is the first book in the Poppy War trilogy. It's a grim dark fantasy book which is heavily inspired by Chinese mythology and Sino-Japanese wars. It's a very refreshing take on fantasy genre, and I've never read anything like this before. R.F.Kuang has woven a story that hits you hard in your gut. The story follows a girl named Ren who is a war orphan and lives with her adopted family. When the family decides to marry her to an old rich merchant, Rin decides to take the toughest exam in the Nikara Empire called Keju as her escape route. Rin prepares in secret for the exam and aces it, which allows her to take admission in the most prestigious university of the empire, that is Senegard Military School. But securing the admission doesn't make things easy for Rin. Being a poor girl with dark skin, Rin has to deal with the hostile behavior of the elitists at the university. Rin fights all the prejudice and hostility coming her way, and while studying at Senegard, she learns about shamanic powers, which enables one to do some very unusual things. The Empire of Nikara has fought two wars with Federation of Mugen, an island nation to their east. The possibility of the third Poppy War is high, and when it will eventually come, Rin will have to make some very tough choices. So that's the basic plot, people, but the story offers you a lot more than what I said here. R.F.Kuang has wasted no time in trivialities and the plot moves quickly, which leaves no room for boredom. The climax to some people might feel a bit rushed, but it's done pretty well. I've got only two minor criticisms of the book. First one is that I found the writing style a bit odd, because the author had used certain words that I felt like did not belong in that era. But it comes down to personal taste, so this criticism doesn't hold any merit to it. And despite being odd to my taste, the writing style was good. Second issue that I have with this book is that at many times it felt like a young adult novel. Apart from these two things, everything felt right to me. Now we might be treading in spoiler territory, so if you haven't read the book and if you're planning to, jump to this timestamp for my final thoughts on the book. The best thing about this book is the portrayal of war, and it happens in the chapter 21. And I'll recommend you to read this book just for the sake of this one chapter. It's gross, gut-wrenching, repulsive, and very apt description of war crimes. R.F.Kuang was ruthless in those descriptions, and I don't remember reading anything this graphic before. It filled me with horror and disgust, and the realization that it's inspired from Sino-Japanese wars, and something like this had happened in reality made it even worse. Authors often tend to glorify war, and very few are out there who have shown that there is no honor or glory in it. But none of them did it better than R.F.Kuang. With her brutal descriptions, she strongly drives the point that there are no victors in war, only the survivors who are cursed to live with the traumatizing memories. The world building is not extravagant here, but it is something new. The plot revolves around shamans and shamanic powers. Shamans are the people who can do some very extraordinary things by calling gods to their aid. And because of their powers and their rarity, these are the most sought out and exploited people. The group Psyche, which Rin later joined, was the team of these weirdos who commanded shamanic powers. And seeing this group work together, complementing each other in battle, was very enjoyable. Every member of this group was unique and fun to read, especially Shagan and Ramsa. The gods in this book have some ill-human traits which we have seen before in other stories. But they feel new and refreshing here because they draw inspiration from Chinese mythology and we haven't seen enough of it. R.F.Kuang describes everything very vividly, which makes you feel that you're living in the story. You don't have to put a lot of effort into imagining things. The description of cities, marketplace, people are all done so well that they feel real. Clothing, food, festival, culture, religion, and everything in the story, as I said earlier, is basically medieval Chinese. We have some common fantasy tropes here, but here they are written in such a manner that they feel different. Rin is the protagonist of the story, and the fact that she is not glorified makes her even more interesting. We see her struggling, we see her achieving stuff, we root out for this character. But then when she makes some corrupt choices, one is either conflicted about her or straight away starts disliking her. She was manipulative with Irja and Jiang, and even used Jiang for achieving her ends. Then we have this episode where she ended up burning the entire nation of Mugen in fit of rage. She could have easily gone for the army, but her choice to kill the whole nation, including children, makes her a monster. Later, when she had to deal with the consequences of what she did, she felt a massive guilt. But the thing is, guilt cannot right a wrong. What she did can't be undone. So I like Rin as a character but dislike her as a person. The second most interesting character in the story was Jiang. He on purpose behaved like an idiot and concealed his wisdom. But what I found amusing, or rather convenient on author's end, is this man who was a gatekeeper, who was wise and who had the responsibility of guarding Shuluk Horik, did nothing when he was supposed to. When Rin and Altan came to release shamans, Jiang advised them against doing it, but did nothing more when he realized that these two are beyond reason. Being the gatekeeper, he should have done more. He should have fought them, but no. He was like, do whatever the hell you want, I'm going to sleep. And I think that is just stupid. But nonetheless, he was an interesting character. Many characters died in this book. Altan and Neza are two of them. If either of these two presumably dead people turn out to be alive in the next parts, it will be a disappointment. Because bringing back people who are supposedly dead makes the emotional moment kind of empty, and I do not like it. Altan was your hot crush trope, but as the story progressed, he became a miserable person suffering from PTSD. Neza, who started out as Chinese Draco Malfoy, became friend with Rin. So the character arcs here are kind of unpredictable, which is a good thing. And if I'm talking about characters, I can't move on without mentioning that my favorite among all was Kide. He was such a sweetheart and he never lost sight of what is wrong and what is right in the time of crisis. When the war broke out and the Nikara was on the verge of losing, I was just hoping let everyone die but let Kide be alive. I don't know what he will turn into next part, but for this one, he was gem of a person. We are living in an era where every fantasy story is a derivative of the Lord of the Rings. The Poppy War is a good exception to this phenomena. It did things which hasn't been attempted before, and it left its mark on the genre. Its vivid and easy writing style, its intriguing plot, its well-written character arcs, its commentary on nationalism and war makes it worth reading. If you're a fan of reading grimdark stuff, then you should definitely give this book a chance. My rating for this is a solid 4 out of 5 stars. So this was the review, people. Do tell me in the comments what you think of the Poppy War. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you like what I do here, help this book nerd grow by subscribing the channel and sharing the video. And do not forget to check the Indian Bibliophiles review of this book. Link, as I said, is in the description. I'll see you next time in my next video. Until then, my fellow book nerds, keep reading.